Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're diving into the meteoric and, honestly, utterly chaotic rise of the OpenClaw AI agent. If you've been anywhere near the tech space lately, you've probably heard wild rumors about lobsters, global supply chain crashes, and an AI that actually acts entirely on its own. Well, we're going to put all those pieces together right now to show you exactly how this one open-source project managed to turn the entire AI world completely upside down in early 2026.
Just think about this number for a second. 247,000. That is the current GitHub star count for the OpenClaw repository. To put that into perspective, most successful open source projects absolutely pop champagne when they hit 10,000 stars. OpenClaw rocketed past 100,000 in mere weeks, and now it's sitting well beyond 247,000. It officially became the most viral repo of 2026. But what actually drove that unprecedented explosion? It wasn't just good code, right? It was a fundamental shift in how we interact with machines entirely.
Somebody online actually summed this up perfectly, saying, "The OpenClaw story is the most we're not ready thing we've seen in tech." And man, they hit the nail on the head. Its explosive growth wasn't just about breaking GitHub records. It created literal unprecedented real-world chaos right alongside its technical achievements. We're talking hardware shortages, massive security debates, and a community that grew way faster than the project itself could actually handle. Okay, Section 1, Origin of the Claw, from chatting to acting. So, this whole crazy story starts back in November 2025 with an Austrian programmer named Peter Steinberger. He originally built a prototype called Clawdbot, which was just a playful pun on Anthropic's Claude AI. His goal was surprisingly simple, but incredibly ambitious. He wanted a 24/7, Jarvis-like assistant. He initially built it as a WhatsApp wrapper for Claude Code, but he very quickly realized the potential for something much, much larger.
Now here is the absolute game changer we're looking at today. We are talking about the massive paradigm shift from a passive chatting AI to an active, local-first digital butler. Unlike those cloud-based text generators we're all so used to, the ones that just sit there waiting for your prompt, OpenClaw was designed to run continuously on your own hardware. It manages your emails, schedules things, executes code, and it keeps all your sensitive data off public clouds because it's running locally. It doesn't just talk to you, it literally does things for you.
But then things got a little messy. Section 2, the rebranding drama, and 72 hours of chaos. As Clawdbot's popularity started to really simmer, the name suddenly became a massive legal liability, and the project's identity started to fracture under the pressure of all that sudden visibility.
So let's look at the timeline. Back in November 2025, it's born as Clawdbot. Fast forward to January 27, 2026, and following a trademark complaint from Anthropic, Steinberger is forced to rename it. He pivots to Moltbot. But literally 3 days later, on January 30th, the name changes again to OpenClaw. Why? Well, Moltbot was just kind of confusing for new users, and OpenClaw perfectly highlighted the project's open-source nature while keeping that original Claw branding alive.
Wait, you're probably wondering, why Moltbot in the first place? Well, molting is that biological process where a lobster sheds its shell to grow, right? The community just grabbed onto the term to describe the AI's really chaotic 3-day growth phase. And here's the best part. During this phase, an automated AI logo generator accidentally spit out a human man's face on a lobster's body. The community instantly dubbed him Handsome Molty, and it became this massive, absurd meme that just fueled the project's viral momentum even further.
But look, it wasn't all just harmless memes. There was a pretty dark side to this rapid rebrand. $16 million. Yeah, during the chaotic switch from Clawdbot to Moltbot to OpenClaw, the old @Clawdbot social handles and GitHub names were temporarily abandoned. Opportunistic scammers swooped right in, hijacked the handles, and used the project's massive hype to pump a fake Solana crypto token. The token hit a staggering $16 million market cap before, inevitably crashing. It was a pretty stark reminder of the financial chaos swirling around all this AI hype.
Which brings us to the physical fallout. Section 3, the viral lobster explosion and breaking the supply chain. Developers all over the world were suddenly scrambling to run this thing locally, triggering an absolutely wild hardware phenomenon.
We call this phenomenon Lobster Fever. Because OpenClaw runs locally, users started referring to the whole setup process as raising a lobster. And guys, this fever went completely global. Over in China, the trend exploded as users adopted the agent to manage WeChat and automate e-commerce tasks. It actually became so critical to productivity that the government literally started subsidizing special lobster service zones in tech hubs like Shenzhen. I mean, no way, right?
Here's the catch, though. You cannot just spin up a sophisticated, always-on AI agent on some 5-year-old laptop. To maintain long-term context without it just forgetting what it was doing, the agent needs constant, massive memory. Developers quickly figured out that the absolute best power-to-cost ratio for running local large language models was Apple Silicon, specifically machines with 64 gigabytes or more of unified memory. So suddenly, everyone in the tech world needed the exact same, highly specific computer.
Usually, you'd order a high-end Mac Mini and, have it on your desk in about a week. But right at the peak of Lobster Fever in late February 2026, delivery times for those 64-gigabyte Mac Minis and Mac Studios skyrocketed to 5 and then 6 weeks. The developer rush quite literally emptied the shelves. A single piece of open-source software had essentially created a localized hardware drop.
All right, Section 4, Acquisition and the Community. Post-viral lore. So what actually happens when a project gets way too big for just one person? And what are the real consequences of letting an AI completely run your computer?
Because amidst all this hype, we had some very real concerns. While enthusiasts were busy raising lobsters, security analysts were practically sounding alarms, dubbing OpenClaw a, quote, security dumpster fire. And they had a point. Giving an autonomous agent permission to run local code, browse the web, and manage your inbox comes with massive risks. Critics specifically brought up vulnerabilities like prompt injection, where, say, some malicious text on a random web page could trick your local OpenClaw into deleting all your emails or sending sensitive data to a third party. The power of a local butler is also for sure its greatest danger.
The sheer pressure of scaling this massively hyped, legally complex, and potentially dangerous software eventually led to a major transition. In early February 2026, the project hits 172,000 stars. Then, boom, Valentine's Day, February 14th, Peter Steinberger announces he is officially joining OpenAI. He handed the massively scaling project over to an open-source foundation just to ensure its continued neutral development. And by May 2026, under that foundation, the repository had climbed to well over 247,000 stars.
So this technology is out there in the wild now. It's open source, and it is actively evolving fast. The big question is, what will you build with your own local autonomous agent? Are you going to use it to automate your workflow, manage your communications, or maybe code your next big project? The era of active AI is officially here.
If you're feeling inspired and want to start experimenting with this technology yourself and learn how to do it safely and effectively, you really need to check out the Independent Builder community. Go ahead and subscribe to the All OpenClaw channel on YouTube. They are documenting everything, from basic OpenClaw setup and VPS deployment to practical operator workflows and that awesome open-source 21 clause mission control dashboard. It is hands down the absolute best place to start raising your own lobster. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.